attack.
What's happening, my people? It's Cass Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, as usual, before I get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. Donnie Williams, Mike Rim, Tim Layton, hashtag JBT. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Box Storian. Today, the middleweight division in boxing. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Storian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. As everyone today, this is the Tuesday afternoon edition of Cass Sports, the Box Storian. Still early in this big week of boxing history. We're going to talk about the middleweight division today, 160. A little brief history of it. We're going to look at some of the all-time greats, former greats that fought at 160. Then we're going to look at some of the current active guys that's fighting at 160 right now, the rankings, all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to look at some of the greatest fights that ever occurred at 160, okay? Remember that 3-round one in 1985, Hearns and Hagler? 3-round fight of the year. Okay. Three good fights that year. Larry Holmes fight the same year. That 3-round fight, Hagler and Hearns, won fight of the year over that in the 160 division. He had another one, Hector Camacho and Jose Luis Ramirez had a barn burner 12-round fight that same year, but that 3-round fight won fight of the year. Yep. So we're going to talk about some of the big fights at 160 today. Marvin Hagler. There's a marvelous one right there. One half of the greatest 3-round fight ever. Yep. Him and the Hitman. What's up, Tim Layton? How are you today? Good to see you. Yeah, Tuesday. I still can't get over that card Saturday. I was ranting and raving about it yesterday, that 117, 111 for Perro. And the worst part of all was when it said Judge so-and-so had the 117, 111 for Perro. Perro had the nerve enough to raise his hand up like he really had 117. Man, no, he didn't win. 117 is 9 rounds. Come on, man. I gave him 3 watching it live, and then when I went back and rewatched it, I took 1 away from him. I gave him 2 because I was trying to find some more rounds to give him to see what this judge was looking at. But I told you what they should do. Somebody, it was for the, what was it, for the IBF? Wasn't it IBF? Somebody from the IBF, some official, and it was in Puerto Rico, somebody from the boxing commission down in Puerto Rico should sit down with that judge and say, here's your card, sir. Now show us those 9 rounds that you found for Perro, and I guarantee you he couldn't do it. That judge was paid for that score because people, although Perro lost, people do bet on scores too. So yeah, he was paid for that, man. He needs to be investigated. Yeah, Tim, it sure was, wasn't it? He needs to be investigated, man. Eddie Hearn said he disappeared. Remember, Eddie got in the ring and Eddie said, Eddie called his name, I forgot. And Eddie said, I don't know what he was looking at. Wherever he's at right now, Eddie must apparently went looking for him after that fight. Eddie couldn't find him. That judge got low. That's the problem. On a situation like that, those judges should be sitting right back there in the press room at their table, asking for that, man. You know, show us those 9 rounds you gave Perro. He couldn't do it. But he could show us that envelope full of money he got in his pocket for those 9 rounds. But yeah, salute everybody in the building. Let's start out. We're going to start out with our highlights of boxing history. Little segment we do between 2 and 2:30. I ran my mouth till almost 2:25 yesterday, and damn, but we got it in. We are at July. Let me make sure, because I forget. Yeah. July. July. That's where we at. July. Okay. Highlights of boxing history. Okay. There's some pretty interesting stuff in here. We're going to go on, do July, then we're going to start talking about the middleweights. But on July 1st, 1967, Carlos Ortiz once again knocked out Sugar Ramos to retain the world lightweight title. So apparently Carlos had knocked him out before. It said once again. I can't remember. I was like 8 years old then. July 2nd, 1921, Jack Dempsey fought George Carpenter in the first $1 million fight in boxing history. Yeah, $1 Million Gate, promoted by old Tex Rickard. I told you, Tex was the Father and Don King wanted to grow up and be like. Tex was the first big-time promoter of note. First $1 Million Gate back in 1921. July 3rd, 1931, Max Schmeling retained the world heavyweight title with a 15-round knockout of young Stribling. July 4th, Independence Day, 1910, Jack Johnson defeated James J. Jeffries by TKO in 15 rounds to retain his world heavyweight boxing title. Yep. Ooh, now we're going back a ways now. July 5th, 1704. Yeah, 1704. They was boxing back then. Jack Broughton is born in Cirencester, England. I thought that was Cincinnati at first. Cirencester, England. He would be an English bare knuckles boxer and the publisher of the first ever boxing code. Jack Broughton. July 6, 1946. Sylvester Stallone was born. He would write and star in Rocky, perhaps the most culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant boxing film in boxing history. He still don't belong in no Hall of Fame, though. You know, me and Sylvester Stallone got the same record, 0-0, and he in the Hall of Fame. Same knockout rate, 100% knockout rate, though, because 0 from 0 is 100%, right? But he in the Hall of Fame. Why ain't I in there then? It's Turkey Alley Sheik in there. Come on, man. Everybody that ever stepped between those ropes should go in the Hall of Fame with Sylvester Stallone in there for writing a movie. Come on, man. They turning the Hall of Fame into a joke. July 7th, 2007. Nonito Donaire defeated Vic Darkinian for the IBF and IBO flyweight titles. Nonito. Bad man. Definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Congratulations to Manny Pacquiao, too, because he got voted in. He got voted in this year, first ballot. So he'll go in next year, right? But they vote you in 1 year, then the ceremony is the next year, right? So if you're Manny, Manny was definitely deserved first ballot Hall of Famer, though. Yeah. Congratulations to the Pac-Man. July 8th, 1989. John the Beast Mugabe defeated Rene Jacquat, French fighter, to win the WBC light middleweight championship, 154, junior middleweight, light middleweight. I found out it depends on the sanctioning body, what they call it, like super, junior. It depends on the sanctioning body. I don't know which one calls it which, but that's how they distinguish that. July 9th, 1974. Ruben Olivares defeated Zensuke Utagawa. Wow, I know that's not right. For the vacant WBA World Featherweight Championship, okay? He defeated him for the vacant WBA World Featherweight Championship. Sounds Japanese. July 10th, 1951. Randy Turpin won the world middleweight title by defeating Mr. Pound for Pound himself, Sugar Ray Robinson. I told you about them 1950s middleweights. Best decade ever for middleweight. Sugar Ray Robinson took some L's in them 50s. Yes, he did. Them 50s was the best decade ever for middleweights. Hardcore boxing news. Hashtag JBT in the building. What's up, J Hardcore? The founder of the JBT. Yeah, we getting some famous people in here now. Salute J Hardcore. We're doing a little segment between 2 and 2:30 every day called Highlights of Boxing History. We're going month by month, and we're doing July. We're up to July right now. Something that happened every day for the month of July in boxing history. Highlights of boxing history. Salute J Hardcore. Now where were we? For J Hardcore interrupted me. Came in. Salute J Hardcore. How are you today, bro? Yeah, I was in there this morning. I'm glad YouTube got the sound back. Did they ever get it during your show, Jay? Remember they did me like that a few months back. Did something I couldn't come. My entire show didn't get on that day. Remember? Yeah, they got you this morning. But I'm glad they back. I was kind of worried about that. Yeah, YouTube always got something going on. But highlights of boxing history. July 11th, 1949. Sugar Ray Robinson retained the world welterweight title. Welterweight then. Retained the world welterweight title with a 15-round unanimous decision over Kid Gavilan. July 12th, 1975. Jose Napales retained his world welterweight title with a 15-round decision over Armando Muniz. July 13th, 2001. Mickey Ward defeated The Drunken Master, Emmanuel Augustus, by a 10-round decision. And the Drunken Master holds a record for getting robbed. That man had the most robberies in boxing history. He kind of turned the judges off with his dancing and all that stuff. But the man could throw that. The man could dance, though. Yeah, the man could throw down. July 14th, 2007, Paul Williams became the WBO welterweight champion as he defeated Antonio Margarito. July 15th, 1931, Kid Chocolate became Cuba's first world boxing champion in history by defeating Benny Bass. Yep, Kid Chocolate became the first boxing champion from Cuba. I wonder if he was the first one to defect, because you know they don't let their boxers turn professional. So he may have been Kid Chocolate, first Cuban world champion, 1931. July 16th, 2011, Kevin Mitchell defeated John Murray for the vacant WBO Intercontinental Lightweight title. 135. Then on July 17th, 1974, Bob Foster retained his world light heavyweight title with a draw with Jorge Ahumada. Yeah, Bob is arguably the best light heavyweight ever. Bob Foster, that's my pick. Bob Foster. Prime versus Prime, I would pick Bob over Michael Spinks, but it would be close, but I have to go with Bob, yeah. July 18th, 1951, Jersey Joe Walcott became the oldest heavyweight champion at the age of 37, a record that would eventually withstand until 1994. You know who it was broken by? 45-year-old Big George Foreman. And people always talk that nonsense like Rocky Marciano was fighting people over the hill, saying Jersey Joe was over the hill and old. But guess what else he was old, but guess what else Jersey Joe was? He was the world heavyweight champion. So how's that washed up? Wasn't nobody else beating him, but Rocky did it. So come on, man, they got to stop that. July 19th, 1996, Muhammad Ali lit the Olympic flame during the opening ceremonies in Atlanta in what many consider the most inspiring, poignant, and emotional moments in Olympic history. And Muhammad Ali, lucky Joe Frazier wasn't there, because Joe Frazier was on record saying if he would have been there when Muhammad lit that torch, he would have pushed his ass in them flames. So it might have been a poignant and what else, inspiring, emotional moment, but he lucky Joe Frazier wasn't there. Smoking Joe said I would have pushed him in there. Smoking Joe never got over all the insults and the way Ali did in the lead up to those fights. Now, together, they were together in public over the years, and Smoking Joe put on a good face. He never got over that, man. He never got over it. I wouldn't have neither, because Ali was wrong. Smoking Joe loaned the man money when Ali couldn't fight. And I told y'all yesterday when they had the tournament after they stripped Ali in 1967, Joe Frazier boycotted the tournament to support Ali. He didn't even fight in the tournament, because he said it was wrong the way they did him. And then Ali treated that man like that. Yeah, I would have pushed him in them flames too, Joe. July 20th, 2019, the Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao, beat Keith Once Upon a Time Thurman by split decision, becoming the oldest welterweight champion at the age of 40. Oh, it's one time, that's right. Well, it's once upon a time now. Is that man retired or what? Has he officially retired? Always talking about he's going to fight somebody, but when last time he fought, like 1998 or something? Keith is a pretty good commentator. He should go in and make the switch. He ain't fighting no more. July 21st, 2007. Bernard Hopkins beat Winky Wright by unanimous decision. B-Hop and Winky. That was a good one. July 22nd, 1963, Sonny Liston again defeated Floyd Patterson by a knockout in the first round, this time retaining the world heavyweight title. And it was a carbon copy. Both of those fights were carbon copies of each other. The second fight, Sonny beat Floyd 4 seconds faster than the first time. Knocked him out in the first round both times. The second time was 4 seconds faster. Carbon copies of each other, both fights. Yep. Yeah. Winding down. Then we're going to get started talking about this middleweight division in a moment. July 23rd, 2011. Amir Khan defeated Zab Judah in the 5th round. Old Glass Joe Amir. Stop Zab. Damn. July 24th, 1902. The old master, Joe Gans, defeated Ruth Turner to defend his World Lightweight Championship. The old master. That's my homeboy, too, Joe Gans from Baltimore. Mm-hmm. July 25th, 1921. Pete Herman regained the World Bantamweight title with a 15-round decision over Joe Lynch. July 26, 2008. Antonio Margarito defeated Miguel Cotto to gain the WBA welterweight title, with a hand wrap controversy surrounding Margarito, later calling the victory into question. But Cotto got his get back. He beat Margarito in the rematch, and Cotto was on record saying that was his most satisfying win ever, getting this get back against Antonio Margarito, because Antonio Margarito busted Cotto up bad, man. I don't know what he had in the hand wraps, but damn, he had something in there. Didn't matter against Sugar Shane, though. Sugar Shane whipped his butt. Sugar Shane said, I don't care what you got in your hand wrap. Here, want to add some more to it? Sugar Shane put a whipping on it. July 27th, 1921. Johnny Wilson retained the world middleweight title with a 7th round disqualification win over William Bryan Downey. July 28th, 2001. Roy Jones Jr. defended the WBC, WBA, and IBF light heavyweight titles against Julio Cesar Gonzalez, not sharp-ass Gonzalez. And Roy Jones Jr. is the profile Friday, life and career of Roy Jones Jr. this Friday. July 29th, 1751. The first international world title prize fight. Jack Stack of England defeated challenger M. Petit of France in 29 minutes. Wow, 29 minutes. July 30th, 1977. King Carlos Monzon retained his world middleweight championship against Rodrigo Valdez in their rematch. And remember, Carlos Monzon and Marvin Hagler was undisputed middleweight champion for 17 years, from 1970 to 1987. They was undisputed middleweight champion, one of those men for 14 of those 17 years. One of those, they controlled middleweight. All but 3 of those 17 years. King Carlos had it 70 to 77. Marvin had it 80 to 87. Domination. But they missed each other. You know, they fought for a couple of years at the same time, but King Carlos was at the end of his career. Marvin was at the beginning of his. So a fight between them would have meant absolutely nothing, you know. And finally, July 31st, 2010, Juan Manuel Marquez defeated Juan Diaz for a 2nd time to retain his WBO lightweight title and to win the WBA Super World lightweight title. Okay, tomorrow we start with August. Who done came in? Anybody? Mike Mazick in the building. What's up, Mike Mazick? We just going over some highlights of boxing history for today. 2 to 2:30 every day. That's what we start out with. And now today is about the middleweight division. A little history. We're going to talk about some of the former greats at middleweight. Some of the best former fighters at 160. Then we're going to look at some of the current guys that's currently fighting at 160. And then some the top fights at 160. Like I told you off the top, that 3-rounder. Hagler and Hearns, that was 160. Because Hagler fought every fight of his career at 160. Never went up or down. Yep. His entire career was at 160. And I was supposed to write August down because I be forgotten by tomorrow. We started August, man. I know somebody else will remember it because I forget. I got it written down, though. I'm old, man. I can't remember nothing. What month we start with tomorrow? Oh, that's right, August. Okay, let's get ready to talk about this middleweight division. Little history first. But appreciate everybody rocking with me today. Tuesday afternoon, still early in this big week of boxing history. We got coming right at us. Let's salute Mike Massey. Good to see you today, bro. In the building. Yeah, the preview of the week. Tomorrow is get a bonus profile. come out the chat for Mike Magic, so it's going to be done on Wednesday. The life and career of Jalton Jeff Chandler. It's a good one, too. Good one. Thursday is boxing in the States, New Jersey. And Friday, the life and career of Roy Jones Jr. And I thought I had done Roy, but I checked, I didn't. I could have sworn I had done Roy, but nope. Okay, let's get this going. We're going to do a little history of middleweight first. Okay, after I take a drink of my cooler. Jay, yeah, I got a big old cooler sitting here. 24 ounce. Hey, man, every day is the weekend for me. Some of y'all weekends ended yesterday, but mine didn't end. My weekend's still going on. Every day is the weekend. For me. Yep. Miss Cass been quiet all morning. Every day at 2 o'clock. Gee. Can y'all hear her? That's my daughter she arguing with. You know, two people exactly alike can't get along. My name is Bennett, and I ain't in it. Okay, let's look at this middleweight division. Miss Cass. Who's she talking to? Some of the neighbors across the yard? Okay, let's go with today's show. It's still 2:29. We still got a minute. Last time I started before 2:30, the whole thing went down on me for like 20 minutes. I ain't doing that. But how's everybody? Hey, can y'all hear me there? I think it might be YouTube because they was having trouble this morning with the audio and stuff, man. Hopefully I'm back. I just need a thumbs up from somebody, that's all. Just do boxing. Can somebody give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me? Yeah, YouTube was having audio problems this morning. I remember on Jay's show. I don't know what it is now, but it looked like. Okay, thank you, Al Booker. Yeah, I think that was YouTube, man. Yeah, but salute Al Booker and Just Do Boxing. Yeah. Okay, we was just getting ready to start. Appreciate that. Terrell Cameron in the building also. What's up, Terrell? Salute. Okay, today it's about the middleweight division. Okay, let's try this again. I was just right at 2:30, getting ready to start, and that's when it happened. But we're back. So let's do this. We're gonna look at, oh my goodness, history of it first. It ain't me. Yeah. This thing is, yeah. We're gonna look at a little history of the division first, though. I gotta come down. There we go. Okay, yeah, that was me that time. There we go. Middleweight, Division of Stars. Now, July 30th marked the 140th anniversary of Jack Nonpareil Dempsey. Not the Jack Dempsey, heavyweight Jack Dempsey. This was the middleweight Jack Dempsey. It was two Jack Dempsey. This one was first. July 30th marked the 140th anniversary as the first world champion in the middleweight division, in the glove era, okay? And in the history of modern boxing, this Dempsey is not related to the former heavyweight champion of the 1920s, right? Now this Jack Dempsey fought between 1883 and 1895, and he finished his career with a record of 50 wins, 3 losses, 11 draws, 23 knockouts. And it was on July 30th, 1884, in Great Hill, New York. He knocked out George Full James, aka Old Horseshoe, right? In the 22nd round to take the American 160-pound belt, right? And that's a category that is part of the traditional 8 weight classes created in the 40s, right? Now the others are the other divisions were flyweight, bantamweight, lightweight, welterweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight, right? And in those years, the belts were recognized only in England and the United States. And the first title fight took place was bare knuckle boxing in 1867 between Tom Chandler and Dooney Harris, with Dooney Harris winning, right? The U.S. middleweight championship belt. Tom Chandler and Dooney Harris. That was the first middleweight championship fight with gloves on. Now, the middleweight fighters fight between 154 pounds and a maximum weight of 160, okay? Right between welterweight and junior middleweight and super middleweight, okay? And in the decade of the 1800s, in the fourth decade of the 1800s, dozens of the best boxers in the modern history of boxing have paraded through it, among which that was the 1950s, I mean. Like I always talk about the best decade of middleweights, 1950s. And some other stars at middleweight: Stanley Ketchum, Harry Greb, Gene Foreman, Sugar Ray Robinson, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Carlos Monzon, Marvin Hagler, Nino Benvenuti, Bernard Hopkins, just to mention a few that came through the 160 division. Now, in the recent years, two of the biggest names that came through 160 was Canelo Alvarez and Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, right? And they had 3 fights between them. Yep, I think one of them was at 160. I believe what the first two at once. I know the last one was at 168. But anyway, they fought 3 times. They are 2 of the biggest stars and 2 of the biggest names in recent years to come through middleweight, right? And of course, Canelo had a draw and won 2 fights, but a lot of people thought that Triple G was 3-0. Now, one of the first middleweights to attract worldwide attention was Stanley Ketchum. And the boxing world knew him. His real name was Stanislaus Kikau, but he shortened it to Stanley Ketchum, nicknamed the Michigan Assassin, right? And he fought for middleweight from 1910 to 1912. And he was known for his aggression that he unleashed against his opponents, right? And at the age of 21 to 22, they don't know for sure, he became the youngest middleweight champion in history and was considered, for some people, among the best 50 fighters in the history, period, a boxing period, not just middleweight. He was displaced as the youngest ever at the weight by Al McCoy, who won the belt in 1914 and retained it until 1917, right? McCoy was a southpaw from New Jersey. Probably talk about Al tomorrow. New Jersey is the subject tomorrow, right? Crush the Legend in the building. What's up, Crush the Legend? How are you today? Coffee and donuts with Crush the Legend, Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Yeah, Crush, you cooked that guy this morning. He was just saying casual talking points. You was spitting out facts, man. I started to come up there, but you was handling it. Man. You was handling it. Sound like the guy had been drinking or something, man. Spitting out them casual. I ain't gonna say his name, but supposed to be a pretty knowledgeable boxing guy in these streets. He sounded just like a casual this morning. Yeah, Crush, you cooked him. BVO was the cheerleader just trolling, talking about you got cooked, but man, that guy was toast. You didn't cook him, you barbecued him, Crush. Yeah. Yeah, you barbecued him. Mm-hmm. But Crush the Legend, 6 a.m. Monday through Friday with the coffee and donuts. That's a joint TWT JBT operation, so you know it's fire. Yeah, but McCoy, he won 139 fights without losing in his first 9 years, 139-0. He dethroned George Chip with a knockout in 1 minute 50 seconds of the first round when he was just 19 years old, right? So yeah, he took Ketchum's record as being the youngest. Because Ketchum was 21 or 22, they wasn't sure. Because way back then they didn't really keep a lot of records. But this other kid was 19 years old. Now Bernard Hopkins, aka E.T. and the Executioner, in his active years, holds the record for the most defenses at middleweight with 20, right? He was the first boxer to hold the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO titles simultaneously. That was at middleweight when B-Hop became the first 4-belt undisputed. Yep, Bernard Hopkins. And B-Hop is also the oldest man to win a championship at 49 years old. He broke George Foreman's record at 46. Then he broke his own record at 48. And then he broke his own record again at 49. So that's where it stands right now, 49. How old is B-Hop now? He might come out of retirement and break that, so we'll have to see. Right now it's 49. So let's look at some of these former middleweights greats. We're going to look at some former ones and some active ones. Let's look at some of the former greats first. Okay. 160 today. Every Tuesday we talk about the different divisions. You know, we started heavyweight, cruiserweight, light heavyweight, super middleweight was last week. This week, middleweight. Let's look at some of the former greats. Okay. And let's see, I've been having problems with my pictures. They don't start until Jake LaMotta. First few of them don't have no pictures. Okay, but we don't need no pictures anyway. No way, right? Anybody coming? No, gotta keep an eye on the chat. Okay. Now, many of boxing's all-time greatest pound-for-pound fighters spent significant time in their career fighting in the middleweight division, 160. Now, given a relatively high percentage of the male population that fits the middleweight frame, right? It shouldn't be surprising that the talent pool at 160 pounds has been so deep over the years. Now, the heavyweight division will always be the larger-than-life glamour class, right? And the smaller fighters often thrill us with blurring speed and relentless action. But boxing fans know that some of the most electrifying combinations of speed, athleticism, and power happen in the middle, right? And lists like this one we're going to talk about today, talking about these former and active fighters, are intended to stimulate debate, okay? So let's take a look at it. So, use the chat to give me some feedback and stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. What's going on in the chat? Donnie says we need to visit that. That means he defended up until then, right? You talking about B-Hop? Yeah. He was 49. If we talk about B-Hop, he was 49 the last time he won it. Now, he had 20 defenses at middleweight. I think that was before, because 49 was like at light heavyweight. It wasn't when he won it at 49, he wasn't still at middleweight. Okay, I think when he broke Big George's, he was at middleweight, but yeah, he was probably at like light heavyweight or super or something when he finally broke it at 49. And then he retired. But yeah, he defended it up until then, Donnie. Is that what you're asking? 49 years old. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And nobody has passed that since. That's the record. 49 years. Well, 49 years young. 49 years young. Okay. Let me take a drink of my cooler before I get started. We're going to talk about some of these active boxers. The first one is Sergio Martinez. Okay, Sergio Martinez, 160. Now, some may say that Sergio might not belong on this list, but he had a knockout for the ages when he stopped Paul Williams, right? And he did not fight top competition for much of his career, though. He also had a loss to Paul Williams. Although, a lot of people think he won the fight. And he had a draw with the less than all-time great Kermit Cintron. Now, at a youthful 36, that's when he retired. And one thing about Sergio, he went to Canastota. Oh, wait a minute. I done lost my place. It's Sergio Martinez. Let's move on to Michael Nunn. Michael Nunn is next. Michael Nunn. Now, in the early 1990s, Michael's second to none was near the top of the boxing food chain, with Hollywood celebrities shelling out for front row seats to his fights. And Michael Nunn ended up going to jail. I think he stayed in there almost 20 years. He wanted to get all up involved in the drug world. He's out now, though. I think he got out by 2018. I think he did about 15 years. Yeah. Now, Nunn was an Iowa State Golden Gloves champion, and he had a prolific amateur career, winning 168 fights, right? And he was planning on trying out for the 1984 Olympic team at 160. But he was convinced to move up in weight, right, to make way for Frankie Tate. Now, Nunn lost a close decision to Virgil Hill in the Olympic trials, right? The final Olympic trials at 168, yep. Now, after turning professional, Michael Nunn won over 30 fights in a row before meeting his former amateur nemesis, Tate again, right, for the IBF middleweight title. And Nunn won by 9th round knockout. He made several successful defenses of the crown, including a sensational first round knockout of Sambu Kalambe. And he had a convincing decision wins over Iran Barkley and Marlon Starling, and a 10th round knockout over Donald Curry. And he lost the title on what was then considered one of the biggest upsets in boxing to James Toney. Yeah, Nunn was heavily favored on that one. But JT got him out of it. Nunn was winning too. I think JT got him out like the 11th round, something like that. Yeah. And Nunn ended his career with a record of 58 wins, 63 fights. 58 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 37 by knockout. Michael, second to none. That was his nickname. Mike McCallum. Mike the Body Snatcher McCallum did most of his best work at 154, right? But he made a definite impact at middleweight through the years after Marvin Hagler retired and Sugar Ray jumped up to super middleweight, right? Then Mike McCallum was one of the great body punchers of all time. And like I said, he did his best work at junior middleweight 154. He never beaten at 154. And he lost his first fight at 160 to Sambu Kalambe, right? Then he won 10 straight after that in the WBA version of the World Championship before a draw with James Lights Out Tony. Then he lost the rematch to Tony. And then him and Tony had a third fight, right? But this was at cruiserweight, and Tony beat him for that one too. Yep. And he had a little bit of success at light heavyweight. He had a belt there. Lost his belt to Fabio Tiazzi. Also lost to Roy Jones Jr. at light heavyweight. But overall, Mike McCallum had 54 fights, 49 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, 36 by way of knockout. That's not too bad. That might be low 8, might be high 70s. Let's see about that, because he had a lot of fights. The more fights, the higher your rate can be. Might be in the 70s. 73%. That ain't too bad. 73%. Mike McCallum, okay? Next, one of the murderous road fighters, Holman Williams. One of the highly avoided murderous road fighters, Holman Williams. Anything going on in the chat? Nope. Holman Williams. Anything going on with the likes? Yep, looking good. Okay, Holman Williams. Now, Holman Williams was an old school fighter known for his slickness and a willingness to fight anyone, anywhere, right? He is probably most well known for his rivalry with the rugged Charles Burley, another murderous road fighter, okay? They met 5 times, with Williams going 3-1 in their matchups. And they always said Burley was the best of the murderous road fighters. But Williams beat him 3 out of the... No. Williams went 1-3-1. So Burley beat Williams 1 out of the 5 times with 1 draw, okay? So, but they really had to fight each other a lot because a lot of people ducked them. Sugar Ray Robinson himself ducked Charles Burley. Melanin Queen 27 is now in the building. What's up, Melanin Queen 27? And yes, we good afternoon, Melanin Queen. And yes, remember I told you yesterday we have decided to. The lottery is not 50-50 anymore. It is now winner take all. Winner take all. Okay? In the lottery. I mean the raffle. And it's not, come on, y'all got to get in this thing. It was moving kind of slow, but I think the closer we get, the better it will be. Let me just check it. I checked it earlier this morning. It hadn't moved. Let me see if it's moved any since this morning. Probably not. But let me check. Okay. But yeah, it's over $200. $5 will get you in. Right now, $5 will get you come on. Still $215. Okay. $5 will still get you $215, but that's okay. That's a large turnover there, man. So, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's dues. Okay, yeah. J Hardcore paid dues. So that's, yeah. Raffle is still at $215. It's been at $215 since the end of November. Okay. Somebody's going to hear about the person that win this $200-something right now. Winner take all. Not half and half anymore. Okay, well, let's continue with the show. Salute Melanie Queen 27. Appreciate you. Okay, yeah, Holman Williams, one of the murderous road fighters. Now, he was a fairly light puncher. You know, he had 146 fights, 446 wins, only 36 by knockout, right? And he lost 30 fights, but most of the losses came late in his career. And he also had 11 hard-fought draws. Holman Williams, okay? Next is Lights Out. James Lights Out Tony. James Lights Out Tony. Now, James Tony fought many of the and beat many of the top heavyweights toward the end of his career, right? And he even trash talked his way into collecting a big paycheck from Dana White and the UFC, right? He fought a throwback to the old-time traveling carnival, tougher than nails school that hardly ever exists anymore, right? Except for James Tony. Now, if Tony had stayed at middleweight his entire career, he would have even had a lot more wins, and his legacy would have been a lot better. But, you know, he moved all the way up. I think Tony went all the way up to heavyweight. He won the IBF middleweight championship when he knocked out Michael Nunn in round 11. Yeah, it was round 11, with a vicious body punch after trailing Nunn for the entire fight, right? And his reign at 160, that's, like I said, that's where he did his best work at. His reign at middleweight featured a win over Reggie Johnson and a draw and a win over Mike McCallum. And after beating McCallum in the second fight, that's when Tony went up to super middleweight, right? Yeah, I always thought he should have stayed at middleweight, 160. Yeah, lights out. Now, Jack Dempsey. This is not the Jack Dempsey. This is the middleweight Jack Dempsey. Two different people. We had a heavyweight Jack Dempsey and we had a middleweight Jack Dempsey. Yep, two different people. Now, yeah, this Jack Dempsey is not to be confused with the famous heavyweight Jack Dempsey. He was a middleweight fighter who was active before the turn of the 20th century, often fighting and beating larger boxers, right? And he fought a lot of his fights in the bare knuckles era, before the Queensberry rules. Yeah, the first Jack Dempsey. Rodrigo Valdez. Now, Valdez was a native of Colombia. He was trained by Gil Clancy, big time trainer back in the day, Gil Clancy. And during the 1970s, he engaged in a rivalry with fellow South American Carlos Monzon that is considered among the best in the sport's history. Yeah, Carlos Monzon, I remember I was telling you about him. He reigned in the early 70s, King Carlos did. 70 to 77, 7 years straight undisputed champion. And he fought, Rodrigo and Carlos Monzon fought twice for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world, right? And Valdez dropped two very close decisions to the all-time great Carlos Monzon, right? Valdez was from Colombia. Valdez from Colombia, Monzon from Argentina. And Rodrigo Valdez won the vacant world title after Monzon retired by beating Benny Briscoe. And he had a career mark of 63 wins, 8 losses, 2 draws, 42 knockouts, 73 total fights. Rodrigo Valdez. Now, Charlie Burley, okay, one of the best, they called him the best of the Murderers Row fighters, said to have been avoided by Sugar Ray Robinson himself, Charlie Burley. Okay, let's see something for a second. One momento. Okay. Okay, we're back. Charlie Burley, considered the best of the Murderers Row fighters. Okay. Now, he was one of the top pound-for-pound fighters of the 1940s, and many boxing historians consider him the greatest fighter never to win a title, right? And also the most avoided fighter of all time, okay? That's what a lot of boxing historians and the one box historian in the world consider him not one of the most avoided fighter of all time, Charles Burley. And during his career, he beat 3 future world champions, 3 different weight classes, but the belt was never on the line against him, okay? In fact, he never got a shot at a title during his entire career. Fought 3 different world champions in 3 different weight classes, but they would never put that belt up. They was like, who's your next opponent? Charles Burley. Oh yeah, the belt ain't on the line. Mm-hmm. And the boxers accused of ducking him comprised of veritable who's who of the era. Billy Conn. Listen to these names now. They ducked him. This is the who's who of the 1940s. Billy Conn, Jake LaMotta, Marcel Cerdan, even Sugar Ray Robinson himself, all were rumored to have avoided Charles Burley, Pittsburgh native. In fact, Sugar Ray Robinson's manager admitted he kept Sugar Ray away from him, okay? And just because your manager keep you away from somebody don't mean you don't have to fight him. Customato was Floyd Patterson's manager and kept Floyd away from Sonny Liston. So Floyd fired Customato and fought Sonny Liston. But we see why Cus kept him away, because Sonny Liston knocked him out twice in the first round. But Floyd, you got to give him a lot of respect. He got rid of Cus and said, I want to fight the man. Now, so Sugar Ray didn't do that. So he ducked him. Burley was one of the most dangerous counterpunchers of all time, with an uncanny ability to judge and control distance. No less a boxing luminary than the legendary trainer Eddie Futch called him the finest all-around boxer he ever saw. And he bemoaned the fact that Burley never got the chance to win a title and receive the greatest notoriety he deserved. But he's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, though. Mm-hmm. For his career, he had a total of 97 fights. He won 83, lost 12, 2 draws, 50 knockouts, right? And was never stopped in his career. And most of those losses came to other Murderers Row fighters. Remember? They had to fight each other. Mm-hmm. Most of those losses came to other Murderers Row fighters. Gene Foreman, another one of those 1950s middleweights. Now, Gene Foreman was from Utah. That's him on the opening. The Sugar Ray Robinson fight, the 3 fights I showed opening. That's Gene Foreman fighting Sugar Ray. It's Rocky Marciano versus Roland Estarza, Joe Louis versus Max Bayer, and Sugar Ray Robinson versus Gene Foreman. This guy right here. Now, he was Sugar Ray Robinson's last great rival. Now, Foreman originally captured the middleweight title by upsetting Sugar Ray. And in the first rematch, Sugar Ray knocked Foreman out with one of the great left hooks in boxing history. And the third fight was a draw. So 1-1-1. Foreman won the first one, Sugar Ray won the rematch, and the last one was a draw. But after he lost the middleweight title to Sugar Ray, he reclaimed it by knocking out former champion Carmen Basilio in the 14th round of a fight that Ring Magazine called 1959's Fight of the Year. And during the second title reign, one of Foreman's most notable encounters was a wall-brawling draw against Joey Giardello in Bozeman, Montana. And that fight is considered one of the dirtiest in modern memory. Both combatants fouled repeatedly, and the referee is said to have adopted a very hands-off approach by the middle round. The referee just said, hell with it, y'all go and kill each other. Now, he lost the title to the legendary Dick Tiger, first Nigerian champion. Then he fought Dick Tiger to a draw in the rematch. Now, Foreman lost the head of trilogy. He lost the third fight when his manager asked for the fight to be stopped after the 7th round. And that was his final fight. That was Foreman's last fight. Yep. Rocky Graciano. Talk about some great former middleweights. The Rock. Rocky Graciano. Okay? Let's see where we at. Yeah, we winding down. Yeah. Rocky Graciano. Now, he had a rough and violent childhood in New York's Little Italy. When he was still a toddler, his father was a club fighter, right? And when he would force Rocky and his brother to fight each other in brutal fights to entertain his buddies, right? And his brother was 3 years older than him. That's how he got so tough, and he became a brawler as a boxer, yeah. Now, in his youth and early adulthood, he spent time in reform schools and jails. And for those beginnings, he went on to become not just a world champion, but also a crossover star who hosted television shows and co-starred with Frank Sinatra in movies, right? And in the ring, Graciano was most well known for his legendary rivalry with Tony Zale. They had a trilogy. In their first fight, Zale floored Graciano in the opening round. Graciano got up, took control of the fight, and looked to have Zale on the brink of a TKO when Zale turned things around and knocked out Graciano. That fight was suspected of being fixed. In the rematch, Graciano was cut badly above the eye and was in danger of being stopped when he rallied to knock Zale out and win the middleweight championship of the world. In the trilogy fight, one final fight, rubber match, Zale once again knocked Graciano out. Yep. And next is Tony Zale. Yeah, that was bad, wasn't it, Al Booger? And his brother was 3 years older than him. And when you're young like that, 3 years is a big difference in size, man, Because I know I had a brother 3 years older than me, and he was like 5-6 inches taller than me. When you 12, 13, 14, 15, 3 years is a big difference in size, man. As you get older, you catch up, but back then, and he had them fighting brutal fights to entertain his buddies, man. Nowadays, he would get locked up for that. It was entertainment then, but nowadays it's child abuse. Okay, give me for 1 minute. Okay, Tony Zale is next. Right? He was the one that had this trilogy with Graciano. Tony Zale. He was nicknamed the Man of Steel. He's most remembered for the trilogy we just talked about with Rocky Graciano, right? And Zale was a 2-time middleweight champion. And he held the belt for a large amount of time in the 1940s. Now, he dropped the title to Marcel Cerdan in 1948. And Zale had 85 fights, 167 lost, 18, 2 draws, 45 knockouts. Joey Giardello is next. Joey Giardello. Now, Joey was a hard-knock fighter in the manner of the previously mentioned Charlie Burley. He was too good for his own good, and nobody was particularly interested in fighting him for a lot of years in his career, yeah. He was a classic case of an old-time pro who learned his craft on the job. Now, he piled up a few losses throughout the years as he worked his way up in competition. But by the time he hit his stride at the world-class level, he was a polished slugger and represented problems for any 160-pound fighter in the world. After going 1-1 against the legendary Dick Tiger, Giardello got his first shot at a title in 1960 when he brawled to a draw with Gene Foreman in Bozeman, Montana. And the two got into an altercation outside the ring after the fight. And Giardello was reported to still feel bitterness over the event years later. Ain't that something? They just fought in the ring, then they're going to get in a fight outside the ring after the fight. Now, in 1963, Giardello upset the aging but still formidable Sugar Ray Robinson. And he then finally won his title by beating Dick Tiger in their third fight. And Giardello would hold the title for 2 years before losing it to Tiger in their fourth and final fight. Graciano had a very successful post-boxing career in business. He was also widely recognized for his work to help developmentally disabled people. Giardello himself had a son with Down syndrome, right? Joey Giardello. Next is the Frenchman, Marcel Cerdan. Okay, Marcel Cerdan. Now, Marcel is considered by most boxing experts to be the greatest boxer to ever come out of France. He was a dominant European champion at both welter and middleweight, an era when holding a continental title was viewed as a significant stepping stone to a shot at the world title. Now, Cerdan knocked out Tony Zale in 12 rounds to win the World Middleweight Championship on September of 1948. He lost the title to Jake LaMotta when he separated his shoulder in the first round and was unable to continue past the 10th. So he fought 9 rounds with a separated shoulder. Now, Cerdan tragically died in a plane crash on the way to the United States to fight Jake LaMotta in a rematch, right? And he had 117 fights in his career. Won 113, only lost 4. Wow. Next is Jake LaMotta. Okay. This is where the slide you play starts. Jake LaMotta. It's Jake on the left. Now, both of them could be Jake. Don't they both look like Jake? But that's Jake on the left. Okay. I think that is Marcel Cerdan he's fighting against right there. Jake LaMotta, the Bronx Bull. He was wildly popular for his rugged style of mixing it up. His 6-fight rivalry against Sugar Ray Robinson is among the most celebrated in boxing history. LaMotta was the first man to ever beat Sugar Ray. Yeah, first man to beat Sugar Ray, Jake LaMotta. And he's considered to have one of the greatest chins in boxing history. And he used his ability to take punishment as part of his tactical arsenal, stalking an opponent and remaining in close range, willing to take a shot to land one. And LaMotta is often thought of as a power puncher, but in fact, only 30 of his 83 professional victories came by way of knockout. Now, you would think Jake, with his style, would have had more knockouts, right? 83 wins, only 30 by knockout. We're going to look at the opposite. Wow. You would have really thought he would have had more. But his knockout rate was 36%. And his style, yeah. But his style was more relentlessly bullying than pure power, right? So that's the difference. In November of 1947, LaMotta was knocked out in 4 rounds by Billy Fox. The New York Athletic Commission immediately suspected a fix and withheld the purses for the fight. And Jake later admitted to taking a dive, both in testimony to the FBI and in his own memoir. He took the dive to gain favor with the mafia, which in that era was the only way to get a title shot. The mafia controlled who got title shots, and they also controlled who won them, right? That was the only time Jake ever went down in his career. He took a dive. And LaMotta got his shot at the title and defeated Marcel Cerdan to capture the title in 1948. And that's when Cerdan was traveling back for the rematch with Jake when the plane crashed and he died in it, right? Jake LaMotta. Nino Benvenuti is next. That's Nino on the right. Nino Benvenuti. Now, Nino Benvenuti is regarded as the greatest fighter ever to come out of Italy. He had an extensive amateur career, going 120 wins in the amateurs, just one loss. And he won the 1960 Olympic gold medal at welterweight at home in the Rome Olympics, right? He was from Italy. That's the same one Ali got the heavyweight title with. Nino won gold at welterweight in the Olympics, right? And Ali was not the most outstanding boxer in those games. It was Nino Benvenuti. He won the Val Barker Trophy as the game's outstanding boxer. Wasn't Ali. I'm learning too. I just learned that. Now Benvenuti won his first 55 professional fights before beating fellow Italian Sandro Mazzinghi for the World Junior Middleweight Championship. He received his first professional loss and dropped the 154-pound strap when he traveled to South Korea to face Ki-Soo Kim. He considered that loss an unjustified hometown decision. You was the champion. Why did you go there then? You know what I mean? I wouldn't. If I'm the champion, you got to come to me or it's going to be neutral. I'm not coming to your place. And look, he said the guy got a favorable hometown decision, but that's your own fault. Why would you even go there? Jarrell Hattie and Thomas Hill in the building. Salute. Jarrell Hattie and the legendary Thomas Hill in the building. This is middleweight today. We are talking about some of the former greats. We're winding down on that. Then we're going to look at some of the current fighters, some of the top fights of all time at 160, including that 3-round classic, Marvin Hagler, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Fight of the year. There was some other good fights that year. The 15-round fight between Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks was that year. And that 3-round fight beat that out, man. Then we had a 12-round fight between Hector Camacho and Jose Luis Ramirez. Barn burner. That 3-round fight beat that out. And a lot of other good fights that year. But Hearns and Hagler took it, man. That was... Y'all done seen it. Yeah, Benvenuti. He moved to middleweight where he beat the legendary Emil Griffith for the world title. Then he lost the rematch to Griffith, right? Then he won it back in the third fight. Then he dropped the world title to King Carlos Monzon. King Carlos was coming around by then in what was then viewed as a significant upset. But it's now seen as the emergence of Monzon as a dominant force. So they called it an upset because they didn't know how bad Monzon was then. But after a few years went by, they was like, no, that wasn't no upset. Monzon should have been favored. Stanley Ketchel, going way back. Stanley Ketchel. Now, Stanley is another one of the old timers who is hard to rate. He had a professional record of 52 wins, 4 losses, 4 draws, 4 no contests, 49 knockouts. Great knockout rate. 49 knockouts and 52 wins. It's got to be 90. 94%, yeah. Only 3 people went the distance. Well, he had 2 losses too, though. But yeah, 94%. Not bad. In 1908, he easily dispatched Mike Twin Sullivan to receive general recognition as the world champion at middleweight, a title which did not officially exist yet. Okay? Now, Ketchel's fight with heavyweight champion Jack Johnson was legendary. It was billed as a David and Goliath matchup. There you go, AB, Jack Johnson. David versus Goliath. Now, Ketchel managed to floor Johnson, before Johnson knocked him out with a vicious uppercut. But he knocked Jack down, Al Booker. Wow. In 1910, but Johnson came back and knocked him out. In 1910, Ketchel was tragically murdered by a hard hand on his ranch. And guess what? He was only 24 years old. Boxing career still going on. Wow. Ring Magazine's founder, Nat Fletcher, called Ketchel the greatest middleweight of all time. Emil Griffith. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there's Emil. Emil Griffith. Yeah. The time I turn the music down, it comes up by itself. Damn. Maybe I'll turn it up, it'll go down. I don't know. But Emil Griffith, he was the first native of the U.S. Virgin Islands to win a world title. Emil is a true all-time great, right? Now, Emil did his best work at welterweight. He won the welterweight title by knocking out Benny Parrott in 1962. Parrott won back the title on a very close split decision, but their third fight occurred on March 24th, 1962. In round 12 of a brutal back-and-forth fight, Griffith had Parrott knocked unconscious, but Parrott remained propped up on his feet, supported by the ropes, and Griffith continued to batter him. You know why he kept battering him? Because Parrott had called him a faggot at the weigh-in. He had the man unconscious and still kept beating on him. Now, if he hadn't called him that name, he probably would have stopped and let him fall, right? But he called Benny a faggot, man, doing the weigh-in. And Griffith and Parrott ended up dying. Parrott called Griffith that name. And he had him on the ropes, unconscious already, waiting for, and the referee didn't get there in time, so he kept beating on him. And the man died after the fight. So, yeah. Hate to say it, but his mouth cost him his life. You know, you get in there, fight the man the next day. Why are you going to talk? You know, it's crazy. But anyway, he was supported up by the ropes, unconscious already, and Griffith continued to beat on him. And before the referee could get there to intervene, Parrott never regained consciousness and died in the hospital. Now, Griffith took Parrott's death very hard. Most boxing experts say he was never the same fighter. In his last 80 fights after that, he only had 12 knockouts. And he was a power guy, but after that, he only had 12 knockouts in 80 fights. He remained good enough to move up to middleweight and beat Dick Tiger, a good boxer too, for the world title, the legendary Dick title. He lost, regained, and lost the title again during a legendary 3-fight series with Joey Giardello. And Griffith was another fighter who kept fighting way too long, and his record suffered because of it. Of his 24 professional losses, 12 came in his last 24 fights. Now, he was a successful trainer. Handled Wilfred Benitez and Juan Laporte, and he coached the Danish Olympic team in 1980. Yeah. Emil Griffith. Yeah. Yeah. I was reading it, man. Well, he called him gay. Okay, let me say it that way. He called him gay. I'm sorry. No, it wasn't in here neither. But, you know, that's what he called him, man. They can go back and look at the tape. That's what he called him. But, yeah, he called him LGBTQOP, okay? Whatever that is. But, yeah, but that's what happened. You know, if he hadn't have called him that, he probably would have let him just drop. But his punches was holding him up and he was beating on him, man. You know? Yeah. Dick Tiger, the legendary Dick Tiger. Yeah, I've been calling this man legendary for the longest time. Now, Dick Tiger from Nigeria. He was a native of Nigeria and he emigrated to Liverpool, England. He was awarded a CBE by Queen Elizabeth for his boxing success, but later returned it in protest over English policies toward Nigeria. What is a CBE anyway? The Tiger beat Gene Fullmer to win the world middleweight title. He had a draw with Fullmer in the rematch, and then he knocked him out in the third fight of the trilogy. He split a 4-fight series with Joey Giardello. He also had 2 wins over one-time light heavyweight champion Jose Torres. He was Ring Magazine's Fighter of the Year in 1962 and 1965, right? And he was also named to Ring's list of 80 best fighters of the past 80 years. Dick Tiger, the legendary Dick Tiger. Oh, what happened? Oh, there's Dick Tiger. I don't know what I did. Dick Tiger on the left. Mickey the Toy Bulldog Walker. There's the Toy Bulldog, Mickey Walker. Now, let's see what's going on in the chat. Oh, nothing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, Al, we're going to take me out. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Mickey, yeah, they already took my monetization. Never got it back. I had it for 3 weeks. You know, because I found out the other day that you can get, what they call it? Oh, man. What's the word when you use stuff? Put it in the chat, somebody. What's that word? That when you use those videos that belong to somebody else and you get hit for them. I'll tell you the rest of the story when somebody put it in the chat. Damn, what the hell is it? I don't know. But that's Mickey Ward, the Toy Bulldog. Mickey Ward was one of the greatest fighters during the rough and tumble 1920s. Nicknamed the Toy Bulldog or the Toy Cannon. He fought and won many times against bigger fighters. Yeah, small guy. Walker started out at welterweight, winning the world title in that division in 1920. Copyright, that's what I'm looking for. I found out these still pictures that I use are subject to copyright, so that could be why I haven't got my monetization back, because they might have me banned for like the next 2 years because I use them every day. They might hit me every day. I did not know that. Yeah, still pictures are subject to copyright too. Mm-hmm. I'll probably never get it back. They can cab it out. I don't care. I don't need it. They can keep it. Yeah. I mean, I had it 3 weeks. They took it, so keep it. I'm not worrying about it. Now, Walker, started out. He lost a close 15-round decision to 160-pound champion Harry Greb in a championship fight, in a champion versus champion match. He later moved up to middleweight full-time and captured the title with a controversial decision victory over Tiger Flowers. He eventually moved all the way up to heavyweight. In his first fight at heavyweight, he fought former champion Jack Sharkey to a draw. The great Jack Sharkey. Jack Sharkey was older then, though. Now, he won a number of fights at heavyweight, but he was knocked out when he tested himself against another former champion, Max Smelling. Yeah, Max Smelling didn't play with him. He knocked him out. So you ain't supposed to have your little butt up here, Toy Bulldog. After retiring from the ring, Walker received some notoriety as a painter, having his work displayed in galleries in New York and London. He won 109 fights, lost 22, 5 draws, 28 knockouts, 58 knockouts. 28, what? No contest. No way. 109 wins, 22 losses, 5 draws, 28 no contests. Damn. 58 knockouts. Well, what was Mickey doing? 28 no contests. That's got to be the record for no contests. Tiger Flowers. I think Tiger was the first black fighter to win the middleweight title. Tiger Flowers. Yeah. On the right. Now, Tiger called him the Georgia Deacon. He's another great champion from the 1920s. He beat Harry Greb by unanimous decision for the world middleweight title in 1926, in an era when it was often tough for a black fighter to get a fair decision, especially against a popular fighter like Harry Greb. And I think that was when he became the first black fighter to win the And then he beat Harry Greb again in the rematch. Yep, beat Harry in the rematch. Now, he dropped the title to Mickey Walker in a very controversial decision, what they was just talking about, right? Now, while waiting to schedule a rematch against Walker, Flowers died tragically from complications during eye surgery. Wow, eye surgery. He had 136 wins, 15 losses, 8 draws, 2 no contests. That's more like it. 56 knockouts. Next, Bernard Hopkins. B-Hop. Getting close to the end now. B-Hop. Bernard Hopkins. Then we're going to we got to get to these current fighters, man. Got to do that. Bernard Hopkins. You go. Now, this part of the list will we come to where these guys have eras, not just championships, eras. Now, Hopkins grew up on the streets and was sentenced to federal prison as an adult. Well, he was still only 17, right? He was the age of a minor, but, I guess he did an adult crime. You know how they do it. Now, while in the prison, he took up boxing. Never a highly regarded or protected prospect, Hopkins approached his new career after prison with a seriousness and devotion that few in the sports history have ever matched, right? Hopkins won the IBF title in 1995 with a 7th-round knockout TKO of Segundo Mercado. He defended the IBF belt 12 times, beating such highly regarded opponents as Glenn Johnson, undefeated at the time, Simon Brown, Antoine Eccles. In 2001, a middleweight unification tournament was held. Hopkins won a unanimous decision against WBC champion Keith Holmes, and then became the undisputed champion when he outboxed Felix Trinidad in a fight that was stopped in round 12. At the time, B-Hop had been viewed as a big underdog against Trinidad. Now, while it had no direct bearing on his ranking at middleweight, Hopkins had one of the most remarkable careers of any over 40 athlete from any sport ever, right? Won the title at 46, broke Big George's record, broke his own record at 48, and broke it again at 49. Retired as champion. I think he vacated and went up because I think he retired at 52. I'm going to have to check into that. But I know he fought until he was 52. Go way back. Bob Fitzsimmons. Okay. 330. Yeah, Bob was a bad guy way back then. Then Harry Grab. Okay. They don't have too many more. Bob had the 160 title, defended it for several years. He fought back in the 1890s. Well, he had his first fight in 1883 in Australia. 1891, he won the middleweight championship of the world from the legendary, the other Jack Dempsey, the one on this list, not the heavyweight Jack Dempsey, the other one, right? And guess what? He knocked Dempsey down 13 times during the fight, and he was begging Dempsey to just give it up. You can't beat me, quit, man. And eventually, he knocked Dempsey out cold, right? They had to carry him to a stool. The man wouldn't quit, so, Bob did what he had to do. Knocked him out cold. He defended the 160-pound title for several years before moving up to test bigger opponents. In 1897. I know y'all talk about it. How you go from 1882 to 1997. 1897. He met the reigning heavyweight champion, Gentleman Jim Corbett. Corbett outboxed Fitzsimmons in the early rounds and was beating him badly. But Fitzsimmons, a smaller man, kept coming and eventually tired Corbett out and knocked him out. Fitzsimmons won that one, right? He is officially the smallest man to ever hold a heavyweight championship. He lost it to Jim Jeffries by the standards. He was a large heavyweight by the standards at the time, right? Harry Grab. Kensaw Love 1 in the building. What's up, Kensaw Love 1? Yeah, Al Booker, that's right, copyright. Good to see you, Kensaw Love 1. Talking about the middleweight division today. Salute. Okay. Harry Greb. Now, Harry, he was active in the 1920s. He was viewed even then as a legend, and there's virtually no film of Harry Greb, right, at all. Now, Harry Greb, he fought 37 times in 1917, right? And you thought that was something. A couple years later, in 1919, he fought 45 times and won all of them. Like 1921, he only fought 12 times. He must have been hurt or something. 37, 1917, 45, 1919. It went 45-0. Sugar Ray Robinson. Just two more. You guess who number one is. If Sugar Ray number two, y'all know who number one is. Now, Sugar Ray Robinson is almost everybody's pound for pound all-time king. He had brilliant footwork, blinding speed, and knockout power in both hands. Some would probably argue that he should rank number one at middleweight. You know, there's this other guy named Hagler. If this was a welterweight list, he would definitely be number one. But at 160, he was a little bit closer to the rest of the field. He was still a dominant middleweight of his era, though, but he shared the era, especially as he neared the end of his career and fought well past his prime. In the middle 50s, where he was at middleweight, was the greatest era ever for middleweight. Okay, and number one, I'll already know. Marvelous Marvin. Now, Marvin Hagler, right? He was the number one contender for years. He was ducked all through the 70s before finally getting a shot at the world title. And he often had to travel to fight in other boxers' hometowns. It was another case of a fighter being too dangerous for his own good. Joe Frazier told him he had 3 strikes against him. He said he was black, he was a southpaw, and he was good. Okay? Now, the frustration Hagler endured during those years fueled his hunger and determination. He finally got a shot at the title against Vito Antuofermo in 1979. Now, the fight went the distance, but nobody watching doubted that Hagler had won. Yeah, he won it. Referee Mills Lane is reported to have told Hagler to make sure he was facing the camera when I hold your hand up after the decision is read. The referee told him that before the decision was read. Make sure you're facing this way, because I'm going to hold your hand up facing the camera. That's what the referee told him before the decision was read. Wow. But the fight was ruled a draw, one of the most controversial decisions in boxing history. The Antuofermo lost the title to Alan Minter, right? Who gave Hagler his next title shot. This time Hagler took no chances. He stopped Minter in 3 rounds. And that was they threw chairs and I think they threw a body in the ring, man. Security had to get both of them out of there. They was mad at Hagler. It was in the UK. They was mad at Hagler for winning it. They was mad at the UK guy Minter for losing it, man. Security had to run both of them out of there. I saw that live. I mean, I wasn't in the UK. I saw it live on TV as it was happening, right? Now, that 3-round fight between him and Tommy Hearns, man, that was most exciting fight ever watched. And then he also stopped John the Beast Mugabe in the 11th round. That was a brutal fight. But it was during the Mugabe fight when Hagler started showing signs of slowing down. That's what made Sugar Ray come out of retirement and face him, because Sugar Ray was commentating that fight, right? And Sugar Ray won a hotly contested split decision. And Hagler's one of the few boxers ever to retire near the top of his game and never came back, right? And after he waited 14 months for Sugar Ray to come out of retirement and Sugar Ray ducked him, Hagler never attempted to come back. But I always thought, after he waited them 15 months and Sugar Ray came back a month after he retired, Hagler should have came back just to see what Sugar Ray would have done. Sugar Ray would have probably retired again. He did not want to get back in that ring with Marvin Hagler. He did not want to get back in that ring with Marvin Hagler. So Hagler waited 15 months trying to get Sugar Ray to come out of retirement. Sugar Ray was adamant, I'm retired, man. So Hagler gave up after a year and 3 months and retired. Sugar Ray didn't even wait. Sugar Ray said, the coast is clear now. 1 month later came back. That's the duck, man. Sugar Ray's one of my favorite fighters, but I call it down the middle. That is a duck. Textbook definition of a duck. He should at least waited 2 months. He came back the next month. Okay, the coast is clear. Hagler retired. It would have been so funny if Hagler would have came right back like the next week after Sugar Ray came back. Okay, with a contract. Sugar Ray, I'm retired again. That was the duck there. Sugar Ray looking bad out here for that, man. Let's look at some of these current fighters. That's basically the rankings. That's all. You know, some guys are still actually fighting right now. Some of them might fight this weekend. Who's fighting this weekend? I know the big heavyweight rematches next weekend. That's when the drawing for the raffle is. Right after 5 minutes after Fury get his hand raised. I mean Furiosa. I meant Fury. Mm-hmm. Right after he get his hand raised. That's when the drawing gonna be. Okay? That's when the drawing gonna be. 5 minutes after Fury get his hand raised. And it's winner take all now. It's not half and half anymore. Winner takes everything. 2:15 when I started the show. This thing is moving slow. Wow. But yeah, the current middleweight rankings are as follows. Okay? And that's not what I want. Okay. There we're gonna get it. Current middleweight rankings. How's everybody's day going? Going okay? Don't forget tomorrow is the life and career of Jolton Jeff Chandler. Brought to you by Mike Masick. Okay? There'll be another profile. Jolton Jeff was a champion. Yeah. And then Thursday is boxing in the States, New Jersey. Home of Just Do Boxing, Mrs. Just Do, Baby Do, the entire Do family. Home of Ray Patterson, RP, straight out of New Jersey. Home of Slick Shakur Stevenson. Marvin Hagler, originally from there. Ed McQueen told me last week Floyd had a connection from New Jersey through his mother. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Floyd with New Jersey too, because we talked about Floyd with Michigan. We talked about Hagler with Massachusetts, remember? But hey, we got to mention him too. He deserves 2 mentions because he was born in New Jersey, remember? But his boxing career played out in Massachusetts. The majority of it, remember? So yeah, the marvelous one. And his real official name was Marvin Hagler. Just like mine is Cash Sports. He went and had they wouldn't call him that for some reason. The commentators and reporters and stuff wouldn't call him Marvelous, his nickname. So he went and had his name changed to that. So that's my name. You got to call me that. They called Sugar Ray, and Roberto Duran the Hands of Stone and Hearns the Hitman, but they wouldn't call Marvin Marvelous for some reason. So he went and had his name changed to that. Yeah. I'm not going to have my name changed to Cash Sports. Okay. Current rankings. I got it now. Okay. Current rankings for the middleweight division. Number 1 is Janabek. Y'all know his last name. Lamimkhanully. I heard people pronounce it, still can't pronounce it right. Janabek. 16-0, 11 knockouts. He has the WBO and the IBF. Number 2, Carlos Adames. Janabek is from Kazakhstan. Adames is from the Dominican Republic. 24 wins, 1 loss, 18 knockouts. He's a WBC champion. Number 3, Erislandy Lara of Cuba, the veteran. 31 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, 19 knockouts. Current WBA champion. Okay? So the champions are the top 3. 1, Janabek with the WBO, IBF. Carlos Adames with the WBC. Erislandy Lara with WBA. 4, Chris Eubank Jr. out of the UK. 34 wins, 3 losses, 25 knockouts. Number 5, Merrim Nursultanov, Mervin Nursultanov, Kazakhstan, 20 wins, no losses, 11 knockouts. Nope, that ain't really how you pronounce his name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. Number 6, Hamza Shiraz, 20-0, 16 knockouts. Good early knockout rate. There's another one. Number 7, Etanoza Oliha from Italy. Shiraz is UK. Oliha's from Italy. 21 wins, no losses, 9 knockouts. Not bad. 8, Kyron Davis from the United States. 19 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 6 knockouts. Ranked number 9, Tyler Denny of the UK. 18 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, 1 knockout. Number 10 is Felix Cash from the UK. 16 wins, 1 loss, 10 knockouts. Those are the top 10 rankings. Okay? From Boxing Base. Probably wasn't nobody ever heard of that much, but it's better than ESPN and Big Waterheaded Tim Bradley rankings. Okay? Now let's close it out. Let's look at some of the top fights from the middleweight history. Okay? Some of the top fights in middleweight history. Okay? Let's see. There we go. Right there. Pop right in like it's supposed to do. It don't do it all the time, but sometimes. Okay, here we go. Some of the top all-time biggest middleweight fights. Okay. Today is the 10th, right? Yeah. I keep looking on it. Okay. Now, a few years back, and everybody was getting ready for the long-awaited confrontation between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. There was a list of the biggest welterweight fights put together, right? And the fights at 147, which were most memorable and significant, right? And so with widespread anticipation, let's look at this list of the greatest middleweight fights of all times. Okay. September 29th, 2001, Bernard Hopkins had a TKO win over Felix Trinidad. We talked about that during the thing, remember? That was that tournament. There was a highly anticipated unification fight, right? And this fight had been postponed due to the terrorist attacks of 9/11, remember? It was supposed to be that Saturday, because that 9/11 was, I think it was a Tuesday, wasn't it? I believe. It was supposed to be that weekend, so that they put it off for a couple weeks, right? And B-Hop ended up winning 12th round TKO over Tito Trinidad, one of the biggest fights in middleweight history. Then we had January 14th, 1891. Bob Fitzsimmons knocked out Jack Dempsey. Not the other Jack Dempsey. We talked about that one just a few minutes ago, okay? Next, we have, that's a long one. May 1st, 1957. Sugar Ray Robinson knocked out Gene Foreman. We talked about that one, remember, just now. Next, July 16th, 1947. Rocky Graciano, TKO 6, Tony Zale. Talked about that one. We were talking about the greatest middleweights. April 6, 1987. Sugar Ray Leonard, 12th round decision over Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Remember that one? Just got finished talking about that. September 23rd, 1957. Carmen Basilio, 15-round decision over Sugar Ray Robinson. Almost 40,000 people crowded into New York's Yankee Stadium to see welterweight world champion Carmen Basilio challenged middleweight champion Sugar Ray Robinson. And the fight was also broadcast in 170 closed circuit theaters. Y'all know closed circuit was like before pay-per-view, you would go to like a theater or a basketball arena, a professional arena on a college campus, and you would pay money. And they would show the fight on the big screen live at that place. Movie theaters, basketball arenas, that was closed circuit, right? Yeah. And for this fight, over 170 locations around the country. Wow, closed circuit. And the fight lived up to the anticipation with Sugar Ray and the Onion Farmer, called Carmen Basilio the Onion Farmer. What a nickname, wow. They staged a magnificent back and forth war that saw Basilio take a close decision after 15 brutal rounds. February 14th, 1951, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That was at middleweight. Sugar Ray Robinson, 13th round TKO over Jake LaMotta. But Jake told him, you didn't knock me down. Told you, Jake went down once in his career, and that was a dive. Now, the legendary St. Valentine's Day Massacre was the sixth and final chapter in the great rivalry between Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake the Bronx Bull LaMotta. The match attracting a big crowd to Chicago Stadium and a huge audience on home television. Fast-paced and competitive through the first 11 rounds. After that, it turned into a one-sided battery. The two-fisted pounding LaMotta endured in rounds 12 and 13 was nothing short of brutal before the referee finally stepped in and stopped it. Robinson won the world middleweight title for the first time. That was his first time getting it, okay? July 2nd, 1925. Harry Greb got a 15-round decision over the toy bulldog, Mickey Walker. 15 furious rounds between two of the very best to ever lace them up. Harry Greb and the toy bulldog, Mickey Walker. Okay? And then September 12th, 1951, Sugar Ray Robinson TKO'd Randy Turpin, the English guy that had beat Sugar Ray before. Sugar Ray won the rematch at the Polo Grounds in New York. And number one, you know number one is April 15th, 1985. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, third round TKO, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. One of the greatest and biggest super fights in the legendary Four Kings series. Hagler vs. Hearns became a truly huge event after Sugar Ray Leonard retired, and then both men notched wins over Roberto Duran. The Hagler was the middleweight king. The Hitman held a version of the 154 title. Together, they were arguably pound for pound the two best active fighters in the world at that time. A sellout crowd at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, and millions on closed circuit television witnessed one of the most, and see, when it was on closed circuit, it wasn't shown on TV at homes. You had to wait like a week to see it on Wide World of Sports, right? On closed circuit, they wouldn't put it on TV. They want you to spend that money and go out in the public. And it wasn't that bad, but the only thing different from pay-per-view, you can sit at home and watch it. You had to go out in the public for the closed circuit. Had to get on and throw some rags on and go out there in public, man. Everybody would be dressed. Jake Halco would tell you, be dressed to kill coming to see them fights, man. It was an event. Yeah. Go to those close. I saw, not this one, Sugar Ray and Hagler on the closed circuit. Baltimore Arena. Well, it was, what was it then? The Clarence Du Burns Arena? It wasn't Baltimore Arena way back then. I forgot what it was. But anyway, yeah. Millions watched on closed circuits because remember 170,000 for Sugar Ray and the other man back in the 50s. By now, millions on closed circuit television. Millions. Witnessed one of the most thrilling brawls in boxing history, with both warriors stunned in a hellacious opening round, perhaps the greatest since Dempsey versus Firpo. And in one round of the year, okay, before Hagler was cut, and he rallied to batter the Motor City Cobra into helplessness in round 3. Yeah, Hearns went down, man. I think he went down face first. That was truly a great fight. Everybody in there was on their feet, hollering and screaming, man. The whole fight. Round one just started out like that, man. And a lot of people say Hearns fought the wrong fight, but Hagler didn't. Hearns tried to box, but Hagler didn't let him box. Hagler was on him. Hagler said, "This is not going to be no sweet science boxing match. This is going to be a brawl." And Hearns just said, "Hey, let's do it." Hearns had him bleeding and everything, but man, Hagler and the doctor was looking closely at that cut Hagler had. It was a serious cut. And Hagler said, "Oh, no, I got to get him up out of here." And he did it. And I think Hearns broke his hand in the first round. Yeah. Mm-hmm. His legendary right hand. Broke it in the first round. Greatest middleweight fight ever. Okay, tomorrow is the life and career of Jolton Jeff Chandler. Don't miss it. It's going to be a good one. Okay. Friday, the life and career of Roy Jones Jr. That's going to be a good one, too. 2 profiles this week. In between them, we got New Jersey. The boxing in the States, New Jersey. That's going to be a good one, too. Got a lot of good boxers came out of New Jersey. Mike Madsen then gave me a few of them, about 3 or 4 of them on the profiles we've been doing on Wednesdays, yeah. Jolton Jeff Chandler from Philly. Yeah. That's what we'll be doing tomorrow. But it's still early in the JBT day, remember? Still early. We got a few more serious acts coming up. You know what happened at 4 o'clock? I ain't even got to tell y'all what happened at 4 o'clock. Let me check. 4 o'clock is Just Do Boxing. Okay? In a minute. Just Do Boxing at 4. You coming today, Just Do? Oh, man, I don't see it. Then at 8 o'clock, VVO Boxing TV comes on. Okay? Friday Boxing Talk. Yep, Just Do Boxing at 4 p.m. today. Is Boots versus Teofimo? Is it a bad fight? That's what Just Do gonna be talking about today, okay? Coming up in a few minutes. Then at 8 o'clock, BVO Boxing TV within the gang. D Free prize fighter, Crush the Legend, the legendary Thomas Hill. All usually in there chopping it up. Fire. That's another one of them TWT, JBT joint operations. So you know that's fire. And then at 9 o'clock, we got the Rides podcast. Shutting it down in style. And we start over tomorrow morning again with Crush the Legend. With the Coffee and Donuts at 6 a.m. and J Hardcore at 8 in the Hangout. And we keep on going. Right on through the day. Gas Sports, Just Do, BBO, Rides Podcast. Every day. And the raffle. Winner take all now. Okay? $215. Right now, $5 will get you $215. That's a large turnover there, man. I might have to come up with another name and get in that bad boy. Shoot. Let's see. Yeah, come up with something. 2 Feet Flanagan. I'll come up with one of those mafia names. Who won the money? 2 Feet Flanagan won it. That's the name Cash Sports uses. But $215 right now. $20 get you 5 chances. Can't beat that. And still got 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks from, no. Yeah. Week and a half, because it's a week from Saturday. 21st. Yeah. And the money will be cash app to you. The winner is going to be 5 minutes after Fury get his hand raised. And then the money will be cash app to you 10 minutes after Fury get his hand raised. Okay? And then go out and do some Christmas shopping. Okay? I take cash for presents. You know, you ain't got to do no shopping. I cash app you the money. Just cash app me 100 straight back. That's all. Do they have return on the cash? Just hit return. You ain't got to send all of it back. And I'm the treasurer, so I know exactly how much you're going to win, so don't play with no $10, $20. But all jokes aside, December 21st is the drawing. 5 minutes after the big heavyweight rematch, okay? And then 5 minutes after the drawing, your money will be arriving by Cash App, okay? First, you're going to get $1, I think, telling you that you won. No, you ain't getting no dollar this time. You're just going to get the money. We usually Cash App $1 if it's a surprise, but now it's money. You ain't getting no dollar. You're just going to get the money Cash App to you, right? But I appreciate everybody rocking with me today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Another one tomorrow. So let's see who was in here first before I go. Kensaw Love 1, the legendary Thomas Hill, Jarrell Hattie, Melanin Queen 27, Crush the Legend, Terrell Cameron, Just Do Boxing, Al Booger, Mike Mazik, Hardcore Boxing News, that's the founder of the JBT, Tim Layton, Mike Rim, Donnie Williams, Miss Cass, #JBT. Join me again tomorrow, because if it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Just Do Boxing is straight ahead. This is Cass Sports. Everybody have a great afternoon, and I will see y'all around those JBT streets.